himself to narrate to us mile 2 when that was step put inside the room. How did he feel? Let me stories. Gambians must feel the pains of those who have suffered. So, bali mo nga beten mo nga jay, natin mo nga alibara.
Yeah. That was a fascinating speech. Well done, well done. This is very positive. Okay, Ghanaians have suffered a lot, and we want to see justice being done. Okay, without no further ado, justice needs to be done. Ghanaians have suffered a lot. Honorable Minister. Okay. Okay. And this one is not to be for what is it? I'm going to be Honorable His Excellency Arabaro Abakatakana Alamuru. What happened to the federal always slow down a little bit. But now COVID as quickly as possible. But handily, especially we haven't had anything about how you're going to deal with the government element, element. But the actions in January was at least uncalled for. So they took all the procedures. We need to know that because they have put fire in the flame bar, okay, and they were like aggregated. So next one they're look quickly, just about 3 minutes. I'm Mustafa Jege. I mean, a family that me more than a minute of program, and then they have phone. So the microphone there, I don't want to put how do you put during now? But the society has sent some token of appreciation to government schools, to over 150 schools in the government. Like Chapel Kier, Nafen Kier, Nina, they didn't stop. They should carry out on their activities. Well, all government schools, every school in Lower North Bank has benefited from this. Every single school where our members are from Gabu to Koina, I am talking about the
Dengan aku motor biar baca.
Ila bara ko kendo la do ko keda me alon ka wa baka bara tani ngani shakanda ko mi hadama dimo wa ko do bi je ko fal ko tendo banda ko fal ko tan pare monsieur do be jalla men keda na kebati na elfa kendo loya ko sen dago ay do ko menke ala damale be jolan dum ala male je yes loya may fati ala keken da kana manke bi ko sani men kala mo ke jokam e kala kibaro fanya ndaka fa mole ko ila dinno nayo fa da baka te barakano kew ke ni ko akande tay salo ga da barakano so ay kato men biri safala wato la kana to bira wala na biya be fala so donc ala sal be tambe ni jala inshallah ba tambe do ndi wala mutal ba sa lolu ni bari mo ko tema sana wala be je nga fa wala nga fa ni mo banal lo ko mu ala ken tole di ma dim ni aje ko kewa ke si muskendo ni pour mun kamane si din ken do soto ni la elfa barakata ay lo ni silo kam men betat ibe katnal du mul nafara ala male pala so duñu ko na imam babe jam ay men ala da malala imam tay kam ñen fa sa do jand sanji mo wani woro wala sanji mo ni sa men en banko kanja li saudiya akina jawato men otumo ni mo la musol wuru da jam kulliyo mo jumala kaake wala mu ñende fa lam sédikan fa ma fa sédikan ani papa njaay fo ade imam tay duna da jam e quand même ko den ka folo ta dalilo men ko ko jaada mo wala fan da jam abe ka fo men ko na ko mi kiyama no han sa ko fa mandi sa ko fa man foto ko man ken to la da di ko dol ko ba ali nga ko bari ko ka fo ko hanya ta kan da fa badi ko Gambia United Society ko Gambia be la ka fo men ya ngale kam kala ko Gambia United Society wala o sabatin fulol men ka da bolo ko no
na boro samba je ke ba do le ko sama ko le nata ko sama ko ko dana kala mo tida ko keta ko kunda asul bo le jange samba wala samba ko sona tariye ko ma samba na ko ila politiko sino ko manke politique patit ila dobe je ko nyako niyo ko ishimo da no nga nyama yemo ne ko be da nyati am wala bala ko nyati na keba be jam keba dam fa nyina do ko bala ke jamale malo bal tan alon keba dam fa do ko men ka jangala da mala ko tumo gambe din no do be jam ila kay ko nay problème o sok e katara immigration yemu tawata na tara kan do ko foye bonne ngol fana cede ala do ko mi ala ka wata ba be do ko de mo kan ko le mo yindi ñi silla ak ñi membra dem silla do be mbadi silla do di pa fala ko ite ngam ta be bandelo bara ay no men ke UDP sa ko no talgol ko jam no jam yasi nimbal ko mali ma na ko ko ne kata jere yebe de foka ya jambe bane ko la ma ko na ko gambe ba mala bari segal be jambe de ko so ka fembe ko gambe la ko ko le jamana so bani ala wurin kam ay dem ko mo ko ni ala ne ma tebe sala ne mo je o tay ne mo nyanta je la su dotin la man da mo be ka fa je la ko ko so mo mo yete nyanta de ni barata e lo be jang alhamdulillah nyanta de kala yoda kam dello yaal men ni bebe jam ide nyam tan men kala yoda so lo tabanko diwole pour men sa na fay kanano yo bari society men be kala jam ala la de ma wa alhamdulillah rabbil alamin na ala tantu ba na kila jey ni society ko lon tolla ngalo badi gambe united society bidi ko lo jambe be na da ko ke na badi society lo ni aje ngalo wato ta ka ni mbente dawo da ka ko le ba la ka ta ko de area men dale ka bolo ko so ma sakunda ta ndo ko be ke no rali mo mo nyanta ta yela kan kan de da ko ni ba ya ko mo ko e ka jiyo ke ko e ke ko le ma ni mo be je ke ko bari kana singa nyati ko ma sakunda da mala be ma ko le nyimbe ko ta rim fananga da ka ta area ya ka dale ka bolo bibi la la bango ka jam ka le be jam ko be area be ka bolo kabila be ka bolo so be ka bolo ñu ne ñu ko me yela tem whatsapp pour bolu me yela tem ala suntu ñolo e do ko men ke mote jono la ni bamba ma ci ñolo e do ko men ala dam male be jono ani diamula ko to do ko men ke banko kan ala male be jono al si wo do fe ko ñu ñu fu dal ni man pala ci diala fa nambar mo kana to ni man pala ko sa ni mbolo te ñanta kat lay fa ne ala wo do la ñi ilo ta gambere ilo te kamale nga tol men ni nyaada ji nga mel lo nga tol to ala la de maro kan tadi no men jabala jan Suleiman Kamara ka na to be kare migrate nga jo ko mi ba to da ko fana beske no mo ko njalo to ndo ko la ba ne na fa ma so nga ten ba na le jey badi ko society ni nga ka fa de bi nga lo wa to na ma to ko nga janjan ne ndol ma ji do ko ya janna kan ko mo la nga to ko samba sin de bi tele ko ta de sinteji fole no banje ko biri safa ne la do man tambay ko mo sodo annama nan sinteji kala man man dal sokeji man sa kunda la ma ko rekil ko tay yo la fande to tan ma sam birim ko dada jalba ko sari nyami na dam ko biri ko dada wan men ate ku kilo fato ate ku kilo jari ma ko dada ku kilo dana ko de la ni so sa ko ni na yebe so na chogo sama nyum blar be ko le kata nyani kata bari ko no na to na dinduri se kan do se ya ko ko do na ka bolo dam ko be ka do be ka men sa tin no nyum ko le sabati ya men ko ko nyamu menti mi ko do be je da ka ala ba hada be ma hada be ba to nyamu menti nimbe da ka ko nyaay do nyora na mo le al mamo fere sire ina na ta na ambassador ya na la juro so be bara wato te ma je ko be islam la sabu le taro me yalo Saudi Arabia ani ke ara banku do ila fe ma ko pour si jalo so pour le taro ya sani ma image so bari magna to la jero da majaro ko islam te mo le il faut les gens pour faire politique da man kawti to nya ko ni nyim man kana ga ko mi kamu agency man dara mo agency kam ni mo ko ke banko kam me alo ga li banko di wona nyam ko man da nyam ka fara ni faate la banko e faate kamale to nyim ko le fe alo ga ye tan ko kar jono la bara ala jama'a alhamdulillah rabbil alamin amma sharra nan bajam isaka de ko ni non fa nan be ko bula le no badi ma ko de nan ko le no man wala tara senal ni set ton be salo nyam ala ha ko be ni baake ala ha ko be ni baake na taal wala men ya su to tele ka duara ka de gambe ñun mel ni bébé daw su to tele ka duara kay ndo lay jamato na manan sigen ma al fatita pour gambe se ko dama so na manan si lu mo lu ne ci la ba kay dama ko to ma ci ma ni ala ma ko ko sama na su na ala ma ko kila na ko inshallah ala ka baake ma kulo ka ma mande ka mo e kula ko mo e ko ko do ni ne ko na ma on behalf of the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Alhaji Adama Barrow, the delegation to Manila, Bakumasa bin Nawalam, Honorable Bataminu, who I am for the gate, Ataji, Honorable Mai Fatila, then you were the gate, is Honorable Foreign Minister, and responsible for diaspora, government in abroad. So for Hangabi Molo, the Hangabi the thanks the nobody then we will be having questions and answers session. Okay, thank you very much, Tamino. The floor is yours. Thank you. Alhamdulillah, please. Alhamdulillah.
It's my Justice Minister.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We're very happy to be here. We're very happy to meet with our Gambian compatriots who are living here in the United Kingdom. We're glad that despite the short notice, you were able to leave your very busy schedules to come and meet with us. We're grateful. But it is expected of us as public servants to be responsive to your concerns and requests. I think we started, I call it a revolution, to change the Gambian psyche in a lot of respects. And one of them certainly is to hold public officers accountable to you, the Gambian people.
Yes.
And that is why, despite Her Excellency Yaeli Harding waking us up very, very early in the morning and holding a series of meetings, we thought we must come and honor this invitation. Allow me to say, though, I leave the politics with Mr. Fati and Mr. Dabo. But allow me to say, though, that as Minister of Justice and Attorney General, no one in the country will ever use me to use the law as a tool of oppression.
Yes, sir. Gambia, are you hearing that?
We have been through too much. 22 years is not 22 days. A lot has happened.
Yes.
We will change that. We are determined to. But in doing so, we want you to be patient with us.
Yes, we have to.
We want you to be understanding.
We have to.
The entire justice system in the country needs an overhaul.
Yeah, it's a mess.
We need to rebuild it, not just for this generation of government officials and Gambians, but the next ones as well, our children and our great-grandchildren,
yes.
so that when they come, they would have found a justice system with a solid foundation of respect for the rule of law and democracy.
Yes.
That is going to take time. It's not a question of one day or 1 month. We are trying to rebuild an entire justice system. Now, Mr. Ture, I've heard you. I've heard your pleas for justice for the victims of the former regime. I know that there is a real clamor out there to see justice occur. But I say to you that I agree with the principle that justice delayed is justice denied. But that sometimes justice has to be delayed so that it will not be denied.
Yes. Yeah, you heard that. Serious. This is what we're talking about.
Of terrible things have happened in that country,
yes.
not just over the last 1 month or 1 year or 2 years. It's been 22 good years. Let us look at it comprehensively. Let us put the mechanisms in place to deal with it holistically.
Yes.
Yes. And that takes time.
Definitely.
We don't want to go back to the days of the former regime where we arbitrarily used the law.
Yes.
We want to be law-abiding.
Yes.
That is the Gambia we all wanted and voted.
Yes, wheelbarrow.
Let's keep the hopes of that new Gambia alive.
Yes.
And we can do that if we get your support and understanding and patience. I urge all of you to do so. Give us your support and we will get there. Rome, as they say, was not built in a day.
Never.
Your voting rights. I have said at every opportunity that you, members of the Gambian diaspora, have played a central role to bring about this change that has happened in our country. You have put in your money, you've put in your energy, you've put in everything that you could in this struggle. I think His Excellency President Barrow recognizes this. I think our political leaders in the country recognize this. We will give you your dues.
Yes.
We will engage in a constitutional review process and we will seek you out. We will engage you constructively. The consultative process will reach out to each and every Gambian in every corner of the world, so you tell us how you want to be governed.
Yes.
And when you have the chance to tell us how you want to be governed, well, please make sure that you include the right to vote as Gambians outside of your country.
Yes.
And I am sure that any consultative review committee will look at that and take it on board. But it will be your decision. I will only facilitate, but I want you to take ownership of that consultative process. Tell the consultative committee what you want in your constitution, and they will, I'm sure, take it seriously. But that will be up to you. So I urge you to not just fold your hands and expect change. I want you to be the change that you advocate. Take ownership of this project.
Yes.
I thank you.
You don't want Yahya Jammeh to come back. Never again. Never. Can you put that in the constitution as well? Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Tamidu, Honorable Minister of Justice. Among our midst, we have a lot of questions for you. Probably that will come later on. Okay. Now I'll give the floor to the darling of the nation, Honorable Gumai Fati. Thank you.
الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك. Greetings to all of you. And to all of you right there. Today we've made history together. We've made that no older generation has so far achieved. We launched a new era in the history of Africa. That from the smallest nation on mainland Africa can emerge the greatest African experience. We made history. We created a democracy. And we are going to consolidate this democracy. The Gambia has changed forever. It will never be the same. The people of the Gambia took the gauntlet in their own hands. They have determined that they will be masters of their own destiny. That the banks of dictatorship will no longer resurface in our country anymore. It is going to be a lesson in political history. It is going to be a case study in universities around the world. How did we do it? How did small Gambia, how did we do it? We did it because we as Gambians, we did it because we have a common destiny. We did it because we jettisoned those myopic tendencies that some selfish politicians have been using for over 2 decades to divide us. We did it because we realized the Gambia is larger than either of us. The political leaders stepped to the plate. Also buried differences, narrowed the differences, amplified areas of convergence, and gave the Gambia a new history. But I'm not here today to talk about the past, because I have always indicated that Gambians did not vote for their past, they voted for their future. So we need to focus on building a strong future. We need to focus on laying a strong foundation in order to tackle long-term challenges that remain unsolved. I am delighted to be part of this delegation to come to the United Kingdom. Part of our presence here is to indicate that the Gambia has returned as a responsible member of the International Committee of Nations. Part of our presence here is to engage the international community and to foster international cooperation so that the Gambia can be beneficiary of the international system. But not only, but also to indicate, to send a strong message that the Gambia also has a role to play in the solution of international controversies. That we can play a vital role in international economic development, in the enhancement of global peace, and in the creation of a new world order. That in the contest of ideas, no nation is small. Our presence is a testimony that we are ready to do business again. And I'm sure the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and Government abroad, of course, international cooperation, will have more to say on that. But let me come home That is to say, let me come to the Ministry of the Interior. My responsibility assigned to me by the head of state on your behalf is to ensure internal security. In other words, to give meaning to our democracy. The history that was established on December 1, to be the guarantor of that democracy. That without security, without stability, without peace, nothing is impossible. If you excise stability and security and peace from development, you have chaos, nothing but chaos. Our approach to security has to change. We are living in the 21st century. But the national security infrastructure is inadequate. We need to reform it. Therefore, our primary responsibility now, our main priority is reform. To reform the police, to render it service-driven. To reform the prison system, so that it no longer focuses on intimidation, on punishment, but on rehabilitation and reformation. To make our immigration system more consistent and to harmonize it with the trend that's happening around the world. To secure our borders with increased border patrols. Also, to make the Gambia a drug-free nation. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, with its mandate prescribed by the National Drug Law Act, is very clear. The Gambia is a small country, but has become, over the years, a major transit nation in the region of narcotics and other controlled substances. A large production field exists south of the border. Cannabis is prevalent all over the country. It is destroying our youth, the future of our country. Hard drugs, cocaine, and heroin, all these things are filtering through our country. It is destroying our foundation as a people. The Ministry of the Interior has a task to ensure that this stops, and that we focus on building a generation of young Gambians who will not only be models for our country but for the world. We can do this if our drug enforcement mechanisms are strong and effective. And I assure you that we are going to introduce reforms that will drive away drugs and drug dealers and drug barons out of our shores.
He's gone already. He's in Equatorial Guinea now.
The act is very comprehensive. I read in the report sometimes our agents go and bulldoze doors and enter. There will be trenches in people's homes. Some of these are very inconvenient. But like my good friend, the Attorney General, has stated, sometimes justice has to be delayed for you to have justice. And I respond, sometimes, breach of the law, you have to engage in the breach of the law to uphold the law. Well, that is just a jurisprudential philosophical contention. I'm sure my landlord can understand that. But what we are saying is that we are very serious about the reform. When it first came, the president has pardoned all political prisoners in the Gambia and all political detainees. So the Gambia is probably the only country in the world today, or perhaps the only country in Africa, without any political prisoners or detainees.
Wow.
This is a great achievement in a very short period of time. It gives validation to our affirmation that change has come for good. But not only that, we open the prison doors so that you can see as citizens the kind of debilitating treatment our citizens face. followed that up with freeing prisoners, different categories. 174 at the start, working with the prerogative of mercy, of which the Ministry of Justice plays a major role. And then this was followed by another batch of 98 prisoners. The previous batch, call it together, so far we have released in excess of over 300 prisoners within a space of just about a month. And we are not done yet. We are still reviewing cases. More Gambians will be beneficiaries of this. But I want to assure you, we are not just releasing people, criminals, to go back to the streets. We are focusing on those who have served at least more than half of their term. Particularly among that category, those who have shown remorse, those who have been reformed. This was carried out together with the Department of Social Welfare, who went in and then looked at the list and stopped the prisoners, provided them counseling. And there are categories of prisoners who are still ongoing counseling at the Department of Social Welfare, because it is a condition of their release. The condition of their release to continue counseling. So I want Gambians to be confident that those who are coming out are not just ordinary criminals, we are sending back to the streets. We will continue with the prison reform. In fact, His Excellency has shown his desire to build new prisons. No nation wants to build a prison. But it is a fact that we have to build prisons. But new prisons that we will build will meet international humanitarian standards. It is just going to be the type of prisons you will find in civilized nations. And we will close down Mile 2.
Yes.
But we will also close down Janjambure.
Yes. It is. Serious.
When we came, what I did, some of the things I did was to meet with the police command, police commissioners from all parts of the region, in all 7 regions in the country, in order to look at policing, to focus more on community policing, so that the image of the police force will improve, and that the relationship between the police and the community will also be improved. So our focus now is more of community policing, but also to improve our capability to detect crime and to avert crime, and to improve our intelligence gathering capabilities. We have done the same with immigration. We know our national documents are, we must protect the Gambian. To protect Gambianness, we have to protect our national identity. It must not be so easy to acquire a Gambian ID card. It must not just be easy to have a passport, Gambian passport. It must not just be easy to have a Gambian birth certificate. You are here, you know how tough it is to obtain your papers here. Because every nation is jealous of its identity. The Gambia should be no exception. So we are going to review again and reform and make sure only Gambians have access to Gambian documents.
Yes.
And we are going to sanitize the current system, what is there. In other words, we'll work within the government system, within cabinet, to make sure that most of the ID cards that are out there and the passports in foreign hands, that we stop them. How do we stop them? We are going to have a period of a moratorium when we are going to, I wouldn't say ban, but when we will suspend all these documents circulating out there, and we will introduce new identification systems,
Yes.
new passports,
Yes.
new voters cards, including new birth certificates,
Yes.
working with the Minister of Health. In fact, we are creating a centralized system that is going to mark all this data
Gambia, we need to get
from the day we are born until the day one goes to the day.
Yes.
That with one identification card, whether it is a passport or your birth certificate, an entire history of the individual will come over. This is going to assure our security. It is the same system we have to our airport. Also, the National Disaster Management Agency has now been brought under the Ministry of the Interior because of the role it plays, which is very analogous to the fire service, what the fire service does. The two are going to be harmonized. So the fire service is there, and the National Register of Merit is created by an act of parliament. We will see how we can find an integration, working with the Ministry of Justice to find a legal balance. However, what I'd like to indicate is that some of your concerns about passports. You have difficulty changing your passport. You have to send this passport to Gambia. And sometimes your visa expires or your resident permit is contained in the old passport. And you have difficulties. We are aware of this. But let me tell you, I used to be part of you. I was also a Gambian living in exile. So I know some of these difficulties that you face. I was also a refugee. A political refugee. So I know your problem, even though I would run in and out of the country, you know. But still, for over the past 10 years, I live the kind of life that most of you have been living here. So I know where it is biting in the shoes. Now we have the opportunity to change things. It is difficult, but these are things that we are going to look at passionately and favorably, so that we can have full access to consular assistance, which the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs talked about. But I'm talking about the passport component, which is under immigration. We are migrating into a biometric data identification management system, and this will make it possible for you to have your passport changed at missions, at the embassies abroad and at consular agencies. This is part of the reforms that we are introducing, and particularly in the short term to the medium term, this thing will phase out. Most of you are in possession of your sustainable passports. You can easily change it, send a passport size photo, and then the immigration department will process it and send it back for you quickly if you have a relief or so. But I think the ideal thing would be for you to go walk over to Her Excellency's office and say, listen, my passport is expired, and within a day or two, you have to replace. This is the system we are now building to create.
Yes.
The same system also goes for the national identification. Now, for the problems you encounter at the airport, it is unfortunate that you work hard here, particularly during the winter. It's very difficult. Long hours, under very difficult circumstances. Then you want to go home. You find all these little gifts for family members and friends. Then you are at the airport in Banjul. You feel like you are in an alien country again. You are a foreigner in your own land. Right at the point of entry. I understand this. It is difficult. It is difficult, and I don't like to hear that. None of us would like that experience. I went through it also before in the past. I am there and I feel like, oh my goodness, am I in China or in Vietnam? But no, you are in the Republic of the Gambia. We have the opportunity to change this. I can assure you that the attitude of immigration officers will change. We need to reorient them and train them so that they know how to deal with our people. When you get to the airport here, you see there is one for the United Kingdom citizens, for Europeans, and all other passport holders. And that is what we need to create at our airport, and that is what we are going to do shortly. That Gambians will come, and when you come home, you will feel that you have arrived home.
Yes.
You will go to a line
Yes.
that will be identified just for Gambians,
Yes.
and you have very friendly and welcoming immigration officers who will smile at you
Yes.
and tell you, welcome home.
Yes. No bribery.
With regards to searches, the materials that you bring along, your mobile phones and other things, this is not within the ministry, this is not within my jurisdiction, because that is customs, Gambia Revenue Authority. Yes, that is Gambia Revenue Authority. I want you to understand, the Ministry of the Interior works together in partnership with other agencies at the airport. And some of these government agencies includes GRA, Gambia Revenue Authority, that is the customs section of it. There, or you'll find them everywhere you find immigration and police at all our border checkpoints. But then I will transmit the information, and we will have internal conversations among ourselves, various agencies, in order to make it easier for you the next time you come around, so that you will not continue to face these difficulties. But just to make it clear that I have no exclusive control over that. But with the immigration officers, and your access into the country, your access to those documents, please, the ministry will work hard together in consultation with other lines, other government ministries that may be involved in this to make it easier for you. Vehicle registration. We talked about exporting cars from here to Gambia. The right-hand drive.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you are in a country that is only few in the world that is still in that system. But then that is what you have here.
Yeah.
You want to bring your cars to Gambia, you should be able to do that.
Yes.
But in the Gambia, we operate a different system entirely. It may not be difficult for you to go to Belgium or you to go to the next country and get your car. But if that is difficult for you, we are not, again, that is DRA. What we can do, what we have to do with vehicles, because we register your vehicles for you, because that is under the Ministry of Interior. We license your number plates for you, and we also grant you driver's license. All these are things that we can do, and I promise you, we will continue to do that and make it easier for you on those matters. However, with regards to exporting left-hand vehicles, those are matters that ought to be directed again to the customs, Gambia Revenue Authority. Because the Ministry of Interior doesn't have much to do with that. But it is the Gambia government. We can work with our colleagues and share the information with them, so that together we can find a comprehensive solution to this problem. And indeed, when we do it on home, we will transmit the information, we will consult and see how best we can make it easier for you in this matter as well, in this regard as well. Voting, yes. You want to vote. You have the right to vote. This right has never been taken away from you by the law. It is contained in the Constitution and also in the Election Act. It is there for the Gambians to vote in the diaspora. It says all Gambians who vote here can have the right to vote regardless of where you live. It is a provision that must now be implemented. Because it is going to be resoundingly defeated in the diaspora. So it is not interested in implementing that decision. But I'm sure if the funds are available, and we will work towards realizing that, the government of Adamawa Barrow, I am sure, all of us on this side will support your right to access the plebiscite, your right to vote. So it is a matter that we will continue to look at in order to give meaning to that right, constitutional right that you have. And government will work towards raising the funds to make it possible. But if Guinea-Bissau, a fragile state, Guinea-Bissau and Sierra Leone and other countries with Gambia is far better, are able to do that for their nationals. I see no reason why the Gambia cannot do it for our citizens. So it is something that we do. Over a period of time, we will certainly get into that. I don't want to be long on speech. We have been waiting for many hours, and we are waiting for the greatest speech of the day, the evening. But what I'd like to tell you is, you have every reason to be proud of yourself, because it is you who sustain the economy. Without you, the Gambia would have sunken into the Atlantic Ocean. Without you, there would have been a crisis in our country. Your remittances is what continue to sustain our nation. And that is why we are grateful to you, and that is why you ought to be exceedingly proud of yourself. And on behalf of all Gambians, on behalf of myself, on behalf of everybody who cares deeply about our country, we say thank you to the diaspora. Particularly thank you for your role in bringing about the change. Without you, the new Gambia will be very slow to come. So this is your victory. Jerejef, Ajaram, Alabarika.
Yes. Honorable
Okay,
Maifati.
thank you very much. A wonderful speech by Honorable Minister Maifati, the darling of the nation. Okay, Maifati no the common have been before Sarah and in Adamawa Barrow Masakunda. So, finally disappointed, but diaspora most are disappointed. We are what we do and what we believe in. Right. Getting the next speaker, Commander, the head of the delegation. I want everyone to rise up and put your hands together for Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alhaji Ousainou Darboe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I can all members of the audience, let me acknowledge Her Excellency, Gambia's Ambassador to the United Kingdom, Imam Sir, and the Venerable Imam Taib Cham, my colleagues, the Chairman of the Gambia United Society, my fellow citizens. I was wondering in what capacity I was going to address this gathering. I didn't know whether I was going to do this as a politician, pure, or as a state functionary, as a state minister. But as I turned it over my mind, I came to realize that there's a very thin line. And the tendency to slip from one side to the other is eminent. And you'll permit me, you'll forgive me if I do slip from one side to the other. Most said that this very wonderful evening. It is an evening that affords us the opportunity to interact with our fellow Gambians for the first time in our official capacities, and for me personally, for the first time since gaining my freedom and my liberty. I must, on that note, express my profound gratitude and appreciation to all Gambians, particularly those in the diaspora, who mounted campaigns relentlessly, pressing for my release, urging governments all around the world to come to my aid. My family and I are particularly indebted to all of you, and we appreciate your efforts, because without you, it couldn't have been done.
Yes.
It is the fruits of your struggle, the fruits of your labor, that has earned me the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs. Because if you are not there, if you had not campaigned in the social media, if you had not told your relations, your friends, what to do, and if you had not voted rightly, I would still have been in prison. And probably, I may not tell the story that Suntu says you should tell, that everybody has a story to tell. Maybe I wouldn't have the opportunity to tell that story. So I thank you all. We have all agreed that as diverse as we are just but one people. And that is why our national anthem has the stanza that join our diverse people to prove my brotherhood. And this you have done. This gathering is attest to that. But we must today realize that the first hurdle was to get rid of the dictatorship. And I believe it was much easier to do so than really to keep on with the responsibility of nation building, reconstructing of our Gambia. That is a greater task and a more difficult task than really getting rid of the dictatorship. It has fallen to my, unfortunately, it has fallen to my lot to to take on the responsibility of reshaping, polishing, and repairing the battered image of the Gambia. That responsibility has fallen on me, and I hope that I'll be able to repair the dents and bring Gambia back to where it was. I have, with the support of my president, your president, secured or at least got the United Nations Secretary General to consider our decision to go back to the International Criminal Court. It is necessary, in my view, because if tyrants, dictators believe that they can escape their domestic courts, if tyrants, dictators can rely on immunities embedded in their constitutions and wreak havoc on their community, treat them as nobody with impunity, they cannot escape the clutches of international criminal justice system.
Yes.
And it is ensured that the Gambia and Gambians who have suffered under the Gambian regime, if they cannot get redress in the domestic court, they can at least get redress at the international criminal justice, at the international criminal court, if the evidence, and I want to emphasize this, if the evidence is available. We do not want to assume anything. We do not want to really conclude that Jammeh has committed atrocities against humanity. We don't want to assume any of those. We want to find the evidence. We know that the body of my friend, my comrade, my brother, Tolo Sanjay, has been exhumed. And it is disheartening for a Muslim, a man who believes in his Creator, a man whom I knew has always had in his hand his juice that he would read before he retires to bed. Not afforded the rituals that his religion demands. Just placed on his back, his head facing the west, his face towards the west, which is on Islamic. Thin sponge placed on his belly, over his body, with a light blanket, and then buried, just like that. But these things you cannot rush them, because you do not want to destroy the forensic evidence. And that is why when Mr. Kamedu says that we shouldn't rush, we want to make sure that the evidence is there. We want to make sure that the evidence is not destroyed. We want to get the experts to carry out the necessary forensic examination and advise us properly. Of course, we were told how he came by his death, but we want the medical evidence, we want the forensic evidence to confirm that. And that is what is going to happen with others. I know that there are several small graves, and we're going to deal with them. think would be matters that Mr. Tamedo and the Honorable Minister for Interior will be concerned with. But we have to do this in order to ensure that the incidents of whatever happened between 1994 and 2016 never happens in the Gambia again. We had isolated ourselves because of our intransigence, because of our desire to entrench ourselves in power in perpetuity. We had taken the decision to exit the Commonwealth, an unfortunate decision. But I tell you today, I had very fruitful meeting with the Secretary General of the Commonwealth and her deputy on issues of Gambia's readmission into the Commonwealth of Nations. And I'm sure with that, our image in the international community will be admired by all. And that meeting was preceded by a meeting with the Foreign Commonwealth Office. Again, all geared towards polishing the image of the Gambia. And I want to say that there are hopes that Gambia will now be a country that is suspected it will not be the nation that people will frown at when its name is mentioned. Having our engagement not only try to reshape and rebrand Gambia, but also to ensure that this new liberty won by you will bear dividends, social dividends, economic dividends. And that is why we have engaging the international community, the EU is one of them, to come to Gambia's aid because the economic situation in the country is so dire that if the Jammeh administration had continued up to this time, we would certainly be at each other's throat because the import cover at that time was just less than six weeks. And could you imagine the country not being able to import the necessary items for the upkeep of just soul and life? We have at least shown to the world that the new Gambia is just not a slogan. It is a reality, but that reality can only have meaning for the Gambians if the government is able to deliver on their expectations. As I told my friends today a story. On the 20th of January, when the Mabaro was returned from Dakar, I had never seen a crowd in my life as big as that. I had never seen a traffic jam as on that day. I'd never seen confusion in traffic as that day. We stood in one place for more than 3 hours. No, we are unable to move. But by my side was parked a tractor, and in the trailer we are young people, aged between 16 and 20. They were really having a good time. While we were sweating, moving like how do I tell you? They were dancing, clapping, and singing. And what were they singing? Bangulenka manta bakwe baroga nyeta. But you see, for me, that was a very, very didactic statement. It was very clear to understand. These young people, they probably didn't know what they didn't intend. For them, they didn't answer it. It didn't mean that to them. For me, it was an expression of the expectations that everyone, including those kids, have in the new administration. And those expectations, I think, it's my responsibility to help the president manage. And how do I do so? Is to put the Gambia in the best light in the world. And we can only put Gambia in the best light in the world by really adopting the policies, foreign policies, that any nation that has any modicum of respect for his people will really adopt. Because every foreign policy is informed by your domestic policy. You try to project your domestic policies, you try to project them on the international scene so that the world, everyone, can come to your aid in ensuring that you succeed in implementing your domestic policies. And I am the gateway, and my friend here, Mr. Tamedu, I'll be pushing them that they must establish the Human Rights Commission in the Gambia so that Gambia and Gambians will be assured that it's not only the judiciary that will come into their aid when there are violations of their rights, but also that they have institutions where you can go to and you can get redress. Institutions probably where you don't have to go through litigation. And we believe that for Gambia, really, to be able to gain its place of pride among the nations, we have to respect our rights. We have to respect the fundamental rights of the individual. It is my dream in fact, that Gambia becomes the human rights capital. And I think it is highly qualified for that because all the ingredients are available. You have the African Commission on Human and People's Rights located in Banjul. I mean, after all, the Banjul Charter, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, they call it Banjul Charter. So, of course, Gambia was a prime advocate for human rights. The first president of the Republic has gone around the world advocating that the entire continent, the entire world, the entire globe must be human rights conscious. We also have in the Gambia the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies. So what else do you need? You need to have the court there so that human rights violations on the African continent can be redressed in those courts. And of course, if we have a human rights court in the Gambia, I think Gambians will be happier because there will be no violation of their rights. We will not post such an institution, such a court, and then we turn around and violate the rights of the Gambians. I hope that when we start the campaign, we will get the support of Gambians by advocating in the social media, as we have advocated for changes through the social media, by advocating for Gambia to be honored, to have to have that court located in the Gambia. I have heard some of the concerns. In fact, one of them by Mr. Barr. When I met the Gambians, when the President and I had the singular privilege of meeting Gambian leaders for a back home, those who came to attend his inauguration, this issue was raised of Gambians having the right to vote. At that meeting, I indicated that all the parties, political parties, had made presentation to the authorities then for the right to vote, for the franchise to be exercised by Gambians in diaspora. The law is available under the Elections Act. Maybe what needs to be done is to elevate it to a constitutional provision, and I hope the Attorney General will do that, so that it becomes a part of the Constitution, and so that Gambians can, if your government that you have elected now does not take the appropriate steps, you can go to court on a foreign provision. I personally do not believe that people who contribute to the economy of the country, people who ensure that social cohesion is maintained, their role is so vital, so important. Why can they be given the right to vote? They have contributed immensely to the economy of this country of the Gambia, and really, if they do that, they not only contribute, but they also, a lot of them also pay taxes, because some are engaged in business as absentee businessmen and businesswomen. They pay tax. At least for the presidency, they should have the right to determine who should be their president and who should not be their president. And I can assure you that at the next presidential elections, every Gambian who is qualified by age, because you have to attend 18 years. You have to attend 18 years. Yeah? Who is qualified by age will have right to vote, and it will be to them to exercise those rights. And in order to facilitate that, I would encourage all of you to register with your embassies in the various countries, and we'll make arrangements for those who reside in countries like you don't have a resident ambassador. We'll make special arrangements for them, so that when it comes to registration as voters, it will be easier for us to identify who is Gambian and who is not Gambian. And I raised the issue at the meeting with the Gambian diaspora back home in Banjul, and I believe the Honorable Attorney General will address that issue. There are some of us, and when I say some of us, I mean Gambians, resident abroad, who have dual nationality. And in the context of voting, I think that's an issue that should be addressed. And I hope that the constitutional provision on dual citizenship will be carefully looked at by the relevant authorities, so that you do not have. So I know that Gambians we can object. We can object to things. We can go on the internet saying Joey Gomez should not be allowed to register because he has a British nationality in Gambia and so on. But we want to make sure that these issues are addressed and addressed properly. That will make it easier for my ministry to at least be on the same page with Gambians abroad in terms of suffrage and in terms of franchise as well. And I want to tell you that within the ministry we'll be creating a desk officer, in fact a unit that will be responsible for Gambia diaspora affairs completely, so that all issues will be addressed by that unit, and it will have at least it will have a director and some other officers working under him or her, because we cannot really close our eyes to the plight and needs of our citizens abroad. Unless you create a special unit, the tendency is for their problems to be subsumed by others, by other problems. And we do not want a situation to arise where the government shirks its responsibility towards its citizens and really the appropriate institution that would look into their problems and address them. So this unit, directorate, will be established and will be led by a very, very experienced person. I hope somebody can come from the airport to head it, so and within the embassies, we'll arrange with the Minister of Interior that we have maybe an immigration officer who will be dealing with passport issues, and national identity issues and so forth.
So NIA.
Well, let me say that no NIA, that will be him in the way James NIA behaves. Because really, in some countries really, passports issues, really sometimes left within the purview of the Minister of Foreign Affairs in some countries, and it is for, I believe it is for good reason, although I have not attempted to find out the reason. But nonetheless, to address your own problems, we'll ensure that within every embassy you have an officer, a consular officer, who will really take care of these problems. And I'm sure when we get back home, we will look into the various embassies, determine the concentration of Gambians in the countries, and then make sure that you have the officers who would be posted there to do the roster. Because there may be one or two countries that you really do not have many Gambians. There may be some such countries. We open embassies there because of shared economic interest. Because we have one or two such embassies because of our shared economic interest in the place, not because of the number of Gambians in those places. So we will definitely look at those issues. Now, yes, the flights traveling to Gambia is extremely difficult. When we are in France, we met various authorities, and in Brussels also, we met with some of the authorities. And one thing that we kept on hammering to their ears is that, look, you must open up, flights to the Gambia. Because it's so, direct flights, yes, direct flights to the Gambia. Because it is so difficult to transit through Morocco, or Brussels, or Senegal. It's extremely difficult. And there's only one commercial flight. And as I know, that is less Brussels. Other than that, the other mode of travel to the Gambia is join the charter flight, and that, of course, is responsible for the limitation of weight that you are allowed to carry. But let me say this, that this is not only unique to Gambia, it is universal. And it will have to, I'm not sure, how productive it would be for us to engage the airlines, single nation, on that issue. I think that has to be something that our Ministry for Air Transport can probably tease his colleagues at the conference of the International Civil Aviation Association, ECAO. I think they can be teased, but then I don't think that it will be profitable for us to raise issues as a single nation with this with the airlines. I don't think we will achieve anything substantial. So I want to do something that I think is achievable. But when it is realistic, when it does appear that what you want to pursue is not achievable, there probably wouldn't be any use attempting to do so. But then what we think is doable and should be done is that we have direct flight to Banjul, and this we are pursuing. And we hope that the airspace will be open soon. Yeah. The Imam Chan has advised us, and we bear your advice in mind. We know that there are competing demands on us, but each of those competing demands is justified, and we cannot just turn our eyes away or cannot just ignore them because the competing demands are several. But we nonetheless ask you, Gambians, to really cooperate with us. This is your government, and it is your government that you can speak to. Because you can call my number anytime. I'm sorry, you can call Mr. Fati anytime, and Mr. Tambadou, you can call us anytime. So that your problems will be one that we consider as a shared problem, and we can discuss them together and find solutions together. We are just less than 3 months old in office, and I can tell you that what we have achieved within this period is monumental. Yes. We have, in our own modest way, tried to put the Gambia back on the map for the right reason. And we have, in our own modest way, tried to bring into the country what I would call as the bread and butter issue. We have been able to secure funds that would support aspects of our budget. We have produced a rapid response plan to address the ailing economy, which we hope will replace the Yahya Jammeh's page with seriousness. And we are really opening up doors, or our doors have been opened up for us with the World Bank. Never in the history of the Gambia has the Vice President of the World Bank visited the Gambia, not even inside of that spine. Never in the history of the Gambia has the United Nations got so interested in Gambia's affairs, making it to send an officer as high as Under Secretary General. Never. But a few weeks ago, we did have one. In fact, in the coming week, I think next week, by Tuesday, we're having other high officials of the United Nations. In fact, I had been assigned to leave London and go to some other parts of the world on a mission for the government. But because of the visit from the United Nations, for these United Nations officials, I have to cancel those and go to Bali because that's very important for our country. So I'll ask you to keep an eye on us. Watch our steps closely. But I would also ask you to be a little bit impatient. To be a little bit patient. Now, whether I sign for the deportation of Gambians, well, this is campaign period for the National Assembly. So, that's as I said, I don't know whether I was going to talk here as a politician, as a minister, but then, but since I signed, not as a politician, but as a minister, then I think I can really address the issue. Now, you are all aware that the EU Commissioner for Development and Cooperation, Mimika, one of the highest officials, and again, for the first time in the history of the Gambia, has an officer of that rank from the EU come to the Gambia. It had never happened. And of course, I had happily signed with them an agreement for budget support, and initially they were releasing 75 million euro to the Gambia for Gambia's independence. And I believe there is an extra 150 million euro to come in order to address our socio-economic problems in the country, ranging from agriculture to tourism, to road building, all these issues. This is what I signed for, and I did it very proudly. And if I have the opportunity to sign similar agreements, and by the way, these are not loans. They are not loans, they are grants.
Right. Yeah. Gambia tachu lañ lolu way.
If I have opportunity to sign similar agreement, I'll gladly do so for my country. So those who are really spreading this statement that I signed to get the Gambian support. And in fact, somebody said that I was bribed by the EU. Yeah. Someone said I was bribed by the EU to sign that. Now, these are people who do not know how to address voters and get their votes. So what they can resort to is this low level
Cheap politics
of politics. And but it doesn't bother me, and I hope it doesn't bother any of you. Those people who really believe in the
politics.
Our New Gambia is one that you and I have to work for very hard. After all, the New Gambia was ushered in by efforts, but it was catalyzed by Solo Sunday. He catalyzed it. He put his life on the chopping board, and in fact he lost it. But if it was if Solo Sunday didn't die, so I wouldn't have gone out. It was because he died, and I knew that I now have reasons for me to go in the streets. I had been told all along, people had told all along, I'm going to the streets, but I didn't have any cause to go into the street. But when I heard, I went into the streets. And you Gambians in the diaspora, you came in a big way to support us. And that is what brought about this change. So the change that you have brought, you must make it sustainable. You must sustain it. And you must sustain it by thinking to go back home. Do your investments. Come home, meet the permanent secretary, President's office in charge of investment, meet the officers of GAIPA, form partnerships among yourselves. There are a lot of opportunities here that you can exploit. We do not want our economy to be controlled by non-indigenous. You have the opportunity. You have the knowledge, you have the talent, and you have the connection. Please come back home so that when your grandchildren read in history books about the creation of the New Gambia, you would proudly tell them, I was part of it, and that is why today you have not decided to go by the back way. And I appeal to you all, please, to come back home. Before I take my seat, I want to recognize the presence of my very good friend, my Siri Bafode Jadi. Alaj Bafode Jadi, Alaj Papa Jabi, the elder brother is Bafode, Alaj Papa Jabi. I met him in 1996 in Maubeuge in France. And since then, he has been that very wonderful person. And I appreciate that he can make time to come here. This shows that all of us, Gambians, are committed to our Gambia. Otherwise, I do not think that someone like him would be here. And finally, I want to recognize the presence of my protege, I call him my protege, Joy Goswell. I thank you. I now feel like a general. I thank very much. Yeah. And I will also ask you that, you know, Attorney General, you know him. I think he has a place, but you could have a place in the Ministry of Justice. He should not be here wasting your legal knowledge. and do something forward. So that you all take Gambia forward. Gambia is back, and Gambia will never decline. Gambia will never
working hard for us.
Nigeria, the Gambia that's radio, the Gambia that's Senegal will all end. And I think
everybody anyone who wants to talk. I've got 15 names here now. 16 names here. So if I told you that, the permanent secretary, you can take note of our questions. No. But then the question you I wrote down, maybe you want to get all the response now.
I brought it back and gave it to you. Check. No. Nothing came here. Always here.
I know I gave it to you.
I was going to try.
Okay, the first question comes from Joey Gospel. Joey Gospel, can you come forward and raise your question quickly? 2 minutes, please. And the permanent secretary will take note of the question. We might not get the answer now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My question is a very quick one, 3 in 1. The first question I'm going to ask is that a few weeks ago, we had the opportunity of seeing what happens at Mile 2. What happens at Mile 2 was very discouraging. Now, what I'm going to ask the minister responsible for prisons My question is to the Minister for Interior. A few weeks ago, we were shown a video footage of what happened at Mile 2, which, in my view, goes to show that this was an institutional failure from both governments. Now, my question to him is this: what will you do in the next 100 days to improve the state of that prison? Just give me a foundation. Don't tell me about prison release. That's not enough. We need to see a total overhaul of that system. We have a legislation that's been there even before I was born. I am sure Mr. Dawo will agree with me. The 1953 Act is still there. It needs to be repealed. The second question in that bit: what is this government doing with regards to alternative forms of punishment? We inundate, we congest our prisons with criminals, and they never rehabilitate. What are we going to do? This is New Gambia, new system. Thirdly, we have a wealth of talents in this country, but we've never utilized them. Some young Gambians would like to have work experience at the embassy. What will we do to encourage them to have an experience on diplomatic studies so that they can be future leaders of our country? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sure the public will take all this down, and we don't expect answers now because time won't be. So the next person to ask questions quickly is Fatu Kamara. Who is Fatu Kamara?
Yeah.
All right, come quickly. 2 minutes.
Good evening, Honorable. Good evening, Honorable Ministers. My question goes out Justice Tavedo. As the government is in process to extend bad laws enacted by the previous regime, are there any plans to eliminate the law prohibiting dual citizens from holding prominent cabinet positions, as that law was put in place to marginalize us in the diaspora? Do you have anything in place to eliminate the laws prohibiting us to take up political positions in the cabinet as dual citizens?
Okay, thank you. So, I'm going to sign down. The delegation is going to sign. So, eventually. Yeah? No, then go with it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'll make it quick. Right.
We will answer question or answer. And then the answer.
Let's get one more time. Exactly. That's fine.
Calm down, give them chance to answer.
Excuse me. I want to answer this.
Come on, let's keep the noise down.
Right, keep it down. Let's keep it quiet. Let's keep the noise down, please.
Just hear this. Silence, please. Silence, please.
Mr. Goswell, your question was, you said a few weeks ago, what happened at Mile 2 was institutional failure by both governments. Did I get it right? Institutional failure by both governments?
Yes.
Do you mean the government of Yahya Jammeh and Adama Barrow?
I mean the government of Yahya Jammeh, the government of Sadama Jammeh.
Ah, okay. Thank you. I just wanted to get that clear. What is 100 days? Next 100 days is quite simple. It's just a continuation of what we started. You see, Mr. Goswell, the beginning of the problem is, first we have to know what is the problem. We know the problem, but we want to share part of the problem. Knowledge, consciousness of the problem was there. That was the reason why we went to the prison. What you saw on GRTS was just the tip of the iceberg. What is happening behind the scenes at the ministry with regards to reform, policy reform, institutional reform. These are the things that the public do not see. What we intend to do, I made mention of some of it here. I said we are going to close down Mile 2 prisons. We are going to close down Janjabure. We are going to build new prisons. We will build new prisons that will meet international standards. What does that mean? We are going to have a prison system that will be one of the best in Africa and among the best in the world. Now we have the opportunity to make it better because we are constructing from the start. What we intend to do is we want Gambians who are convicted, who go into prison, they go with some defective characters. When they go back to prison, when they come out, We want a different citizen out of prison. We want a better Gambian who is more responsible, who is aware of his duties, his obligations to society, and who is willing to go back to contribute to the society. That is the kind of the Gambian we want to build as prisoners. So our focus at the policy level is to enable this to happen. And we are at that drawing board right now. So within the next 100 days, we will have a concrete policy that will come out with master prison reform. The new system we intend to create at the prisons is that even juvenile inmates will complete their education in prison. We will have an educational system, we will have skill centers, and those Gambians who have talents, either in the performing arts or otherwise, will also have an opportunity to improve this while in the prison. And those adults, those Gambians who are going to high school or secondary school system, will be able to have a diploma when they come out of prison. And those who have those skills will be able to become masons, carpenters, welders, even dancers, musicians. So we will have Gambians who will graduate out of prison and they will come out with a recognized certificate accredited by the government of the Gambia. And with this certificate, they would have reformed their life. They'll come out as better citizens. That is the kind of prison system we want to establish. That is our long-term objective. And within the next 100 days, it will become more clear, more articulate. The other thing that we intend to do with the prisons is to improve the training of prison officers. You see, prison officers are displaced among all the satellite institutions under the Ministry of the Interior. Their salary is very, very poor. I don't want to say it here. In fact, it is shameful. You see, prison officers will have just one uniform. One uniform, set of one shirt and one trouser. And they go to work with this every day, day out. It is terrible. We are going to improve their working conditions because prison officers themselves are some type of prisoners themselves. They themselves are some type of prisoners. So we are going to change their working conditions. We will improve their salaries. We will motivate them better so that they can become better correctional officers. What we have there, the relic of Yahya Jammeh, prison officers who believe they can bully, they can intimidate, they can torture, and they can get away with all of these things. In the new Gambia, we are going to build professional correction officers, and we'll have proper correctional facilities. Correctional in the sense, you go with your defective character, you come out fully rehabilitated, a better citizen than you used to be. In the next 100 days, this is what I'm going to focus on. Thank you.
Before you close the prison, make sure the hotel, the one who used to say it's his hotel, to check in there first. We want him to check in. Yeah, it's his hotel. Yeah, Jammeh.
Mr. Joseph, your third question was about the employing people in the diaspora in the embassies. Your Gambians' entitlement to work in the government of the Gambia is not dependent on their being in the Gambia or outside the Gambia. Once you are competent for the job and it is available, you'll have it. So really, we would employ, Gambians to positions, in embassies who are resident abroad. Gambians who are resident abroad. After all, being resident abroad does not disqualify anybody from being appointed into quote-unquote into Gambian diplomatic services. So I hope that satisfies you, and I hope that in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I would have got a complete profile of the foreign service, complete profile of all the embassies and the staffing situation and so forth. And of course, if we are resident in France and there's an opening in the embassy and you are qualified, of course, why not? You apply. And your application will be treated in the same way as those in the Gambia who apply. I can assure that. So we are not discriminating against anybody.
Honorable Minister, I'm just seeking your permission to make this clarification in one of the given mind, please. Margaret might clarify certain issues regarding the embassy. Because it's always good for me to hear it. The level of set. At the end of the day, you want to hold the Papa, he said. Yala more de said a lunatic. The bigger mom record for Annie. Fair Kennedy, embassy, you validate, you jump one day as the I'm Muna settle, in settle. The Nigga ambassador for me, you can because that is taking certain issues or problems you have, challenges you have faced for. What are you seeing? You proper talk, moving for talk, Jarna put to you clarify. First and foremost, the passport mentioned passport issue. You legally that is for Hamne, you know, renew passport. Why? Nimpo looking then you put in embassy renewal. Why take a renewal of passport? Ministry of Interior, you know, for Army. Trying not renew, to explain on me, lend your passport forms, to for buying. Therefore, you see embassy, for putting a community, why you put the embassy. Nyare, you trying to database as statistics, Gambians in the United Kingdom. Pour superviser comme ni ma wax rek ñu reach out to them la dina na ay lettres yu bari waaye loolu mënut a bañ ko doore ba tey parce que dafa metti pour ñu liggéey saa yu laajte duñ dee mën a am information bi affaire bi soog nag database bi mënaguñ koo seto li ñu am ci consular card bi loolu dañ ko dee reach out 20 pounds rejas so loolu ma ne xaaral ma clarify ko second imam Sarr so nani ma office pour yesi mos ñoo wara direct li ma wax mooy ne Saudi government bi ñoom ñooy wara dimbale su ko defee ñu defar mos waaye nag su fekkee ne juma mbiri jaamu sa borom la foog ni ñu ko defee dafa war a defee li ma ko wax ma ne ko ñu provide statistics parce que li ñu indi ci lettre bi mooy ne dañ wax ne ñaata worshippers ñoo nekk ci community bi moo lii waaye moom temps boobu mu ne mënu ko woon a am ma ne ko saa yu ko amee su ko indee dañ dinañ wokk ak moom ñun normally su fekkee ne community contact nañu temps bi ñoo contacté mooy su fekkee ne nit gaañoo su nit ki gaañoo fekk ñun am sax any indication of nit kooku leen ndax Gambien la dañ ñoo ñëw rek jox ñu nii soo foog ñu clarify ndax Gambien la am déet we may provide any papers waaye yet ñu train de facilitate process pour repatriation. So lima ñaan nag dégg la dina metti dina jafe waaye at the end of the day suñ workee together ni ci information bu ñoo war a provide ñu jox ñu ko dina easy sana maa ngi laa fàttali women's group bi jógee woon Gambia ñoo ne fii pour ñu work ak ñun ak yéen bañ ñëwee te defuñu lu set parce que principle yi ak professionnalisme yi tam dafa am parce que public office soo ko jëlee dangaa waat mais you will execute your duties without fear or favor, affection or evil. What na dafa di parce que at the end of the day ñu def leen fekk suñu ko loolu dem am loolu ñu seen ba ñu fee ñii loolu mais su bañ ñoo dañ ko doon nag community kër Aliou Diagne foofu laa nekk ay ñu fekk yéen gën a guddi xam nga yam foon kër waaw waaye nag ci leen bi ma leen di tey yéen mooy ne ñooñu bañ kee nag xaalis mais dañ am ne ay tool ci ñoo ubbi Gambie te loolu setul dama taxaw ne man mënumaa bokk ci loolu parce que lu setul duma ci maa bokk te man ñu nekk noonu laa dee dox di parce que parents yi setul suma ci rek ko dugal parce que même si boobu lee ñoo nañ ci jël xaalis yu bari ci diaspora jël ko denc ko ba ci tey ñu ngi la xaalis boobu rek te mu ngi ko def fekk nag moom dañ ko dee wax mbiri jumaa ji ak mbiri julli yi ñoo wax man maa ngi ko ba North West London su ma dee mun di ñëw si julee ba East London te itam ma dee jox itam invitation pour yenn meeting yenn fonction su may ko dee attend su fekkoon ne dañ ma bindaloon su may jox briefing ak nit dinaa mun a attend waaye loolu dafa dee mun a moo tax ma ne woon xaaral ma rek ma clarify loolu pour ñu xam ne ñu nga benn leen man da ci toog ñu ñëpp nekk benn loolu tax day ko xaalis boobu nga fay Gambia pour tool yooyu leen ñu bare say tool waaye xaalis boobu gaa yaa ngi ko lekk waaye man dama gis ne ñu bare parce que dama ne loolu nañu ko def mu set dañu set boobu man moom laa si
This is becoming personal.
ma ko dee alal so loolu laay jéem a
I'll be very quick. Madam Fatou Camara, in response to your question about the dual nationality vis-a-vis cabinet post, ministerial post. This is one of several other provisions of the Constitution that will be carefully reviewed. I am sure you will appreciate that there are always advantages and disadvantages to any law. I am not ruling it out, but I'm also not ruling it in. I think it will be a subject of a review process and a consultative process. And if the National Consultative Committee does reach these shores, you will have an opportunity to express your desire in that regard. Because what we want at the end of the day is to have a constitution that is enduring, that will be amended on an exceptional basis and not subjected to frequent tinkering. So we want to make sure that we carefully study the different options that will be put in the Constitution to achieve that objective. So it will be an opportunity for you to express yourself and your wishes to any consultative committee that gets here on that issue. That's all I can say for now.
Thank you very much. Okay, we cannot satisfy everybody. Trying to do this for me by the what is the friend. Alam bal mo wala kasi wala imam la sa wala ni pa na kasi ni so ini kan na bala sa person ni kala ni bikas to stay no ba bikas to sangat construction and protecting the environment because that's what I know you bukan yang kuat di bawah di both of time please just both of time please. 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I want to seize the opportunity to apologize to all of you for the late start of this meeting today. Because initially we announced that the meeting would start at 5 o'clock and it didn't start at 5, it started somewhere around after 8. Where we profoundly apologize for that because the Honorable Ministers where they had an earlier engagement in the day, weekday court would finish somewhere around 3 o'clock. It didn't happen as we anticipated and therefore it has affected the time schedule for this meeting. So I apologize for that, and we want to thank you all for your patience. The question, the word that has been reiterated today is patience, and you've shown that today, and you've also shown patriotism, and that is the law for your country, and we appreciate that. And I want to, on behalf of everybody, the Gambian community in the UK, I want to first of all congratulate the Honourable Ministers for their appointments as ministers, and also I want to thank them. We want to thank them for accepting the challenge to keep the dreams, the hopes, and aspirations of Gambians alike. Because if they haven't taken the position, those hopes that we have as a result of what happened on the 1st of December might everywhere. So we want to thank them for accepting that challenge, and we want to assure them that you have our full support, and we will we're going to be behind you, and we want to thank you for the sacrifices you have taken and the sacrifices you want to take. And then we would also want photo, sort of photo opportunity. If we can have photos, if people can have photos with the ministers. I mean, what was intended initially was that at some point later in the day, you would have a period where you can interact with the ministers. But unfortunately, many of them have not eaten since in the morning. So, we don't want to have
Okay, on behalf of everybody, we are going to do this closing prayers now. Sit down, please, do the closing prayers. Whoever has a question, please forward the question to them, forward the questions to us, and we will make sure they get the questions as soon as possible. So I will send you my email, which is ejwara@hotmail.com. ejwara@hotmail.com. I will send your questions to them as soon as possible. ejwara@hotmail.com, please. On behalf of everybody, Imam Sir, we will give you this mic to give us the closing.
Okay, Gambia, it's time to go now. So thank you for joining me. Well, we're just gonna pray, do our national anthem, and we're out. Thank you for joining me. I hope you like my Barrow style. Barrow style. I didn't forget my necktie, you know, it's just Barrow style. Barrow style.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
Fu nekk ñu ñooy président gi. Oui. Yeah, Barrow style.
الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم